Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 359 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. Today, I have the pleasure to introduce you to Jackie. Jackie is Sebastian's mom. And I do want to tell you now that Jackie has a website that we mentioned briefly at the end, but I feel like I should mention it again now just because I don't think we're super clear about it. So our website is Jackie M. Baker. That's JACKIEMBAKER.com. So on her website, she really has a lot of her writings, including access to her new book, which you can also find on Amazon. And the title of that book, I love the beginning of the title of that book because it's called Messy Mourning. And that is what mourning feels like, isn't it? It just feels really, really messy. Like you want it to be neat and tidy, but it just isn't. So I know you are really going to enjoy our conversation that we have today, but I do want to mention one more time that you could sponsor an episode if you would like to. So if you'd like to sponsor an episode, you can go to my website, andysmom.com, to the donate page. If you have trouble getting on the website, I've had some problems recently, so you can email me, marcy@andysmom.com. If you have trouble with the website, you can also give through givebutter.com. So any donation of $125 does sponsor an episode of the podcast. Right now, though, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Jackie, Sebastian's mom. Thank you so much, Jackie, for agreeing to come on the Always Andy's Mom podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
I am too, and I feel like this timing worked out just so well. So I was able to put you in a spot where someone had canceled, and it's perfect because the week that we're recording now is the week of the release of your book. So that's pretty exciting. It's a big week for you.
Very exciting. It is, yes.
Yes. So by the time this is released in a few weeks, everyone will be able to get that book, and we won't talk about it right now, but we will get to it. So
okay.
Right now I want to start out just by talking about your son, Sebastian.
Yes. So Sebastian is my oldest son. He was born in 1994. So this year he'll be turning, I always say 33 in heaven. We owe my daughter, when she, just a little diversion there, but when she became the same age as when my son died at 23, she was like, I'm never going to be older than my brother. She said, so we always talked about he's 24 in heaven, he's 25. And, so we were like, he's 30, he'll be 33 in heaven this year. So my son, Sebastian, passed away by suicide in 2017. Prior to that, to give you more about my lovely son, he was my little dynamo. He came out blonde hair, blue-eyed, and I went, did I give birth to you? I was not. My husband is blonde, but I thought, aren't I dominant? So he came out this huge towhead and remained a towhead all of his life, white eyebrows, everything. And he came out running. I mean, he, was walking by the time he was 10 months old. He just was this little dynamo, just curious about the world and wanting to know everything. Tons of questions all the time. And as he grew up, and curious about everything. So we had it was just so much fun teaching him about the world because he wanted to know all these things. And we took him hiking, and we were always outdoors all the time. He played baseball or t-ball. He was a soccer player from 3 all the way till college. So he ended up being a keeper. And so, especially right now, it's like the World Cup. It's been kind of, I want to talk to him about the World Cup. And it's kind of sad because it's like, oh, Sebastian, you would love the player from Norway, but so it's been fun.
That has been really hard on me too, because, and 8 years ago, my boys were watching the World Cup together in 2018. And they knew at that time that this World Cup was going to be in the US. So they
Yeah.
made a vow to each other
Oh.
that they were going to go together, because Andy would have been graduating from college this year. Peter would have been in the middle of, after his sophomore year, which of course it is. And they were going to go together.
Mhm.
And, obviously they didn't get to go together. Peter had this. I encouraged Peter. I said, I think you should go anyway. We, with the car accident, there was some settlement, that some money that went to him that he hasn't touched. And I said, maybe you should go. But it was hard though, right? For him to get somebody else to go with. I was going to try to go, but then because of other family commitments now, I couldn't. And so anyway, it was very disappointing that he did not go. But we've been watching every single game faithfully. And we've decided that what we're doing instead is that Andy's favorite Premier League team was Chelsea. And we can actually, we've got some frequent flyer miles. We can actually go to London and watch a game in Chelsea, watch the Chelsea game in London. Cheaper.
That would be fun.
Then we can see a World Cup game
Yeah.
here in the United States. So it's rather bizarre.
It is, isn't it?
But I think that's what we're doing instead. But it's
fun.
funny that that you say that, because some of these big events do kind of just remind you and take you there, and you feel like, gosh, man, they would be loving this. He would be loving this, and
Totally. And it'll be 9 years for Sebastian, but we watched all the World Cups, and he was a Man U fan. So,
yeah.
it's Erling Haaland, oh my gosh, I'm like, Sebastian would have bonded with that guy. It was like his man. So go Norway right now. So we'll see what happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But the other thing with Sebastian was an avid chess player. I mean, he was like a national champion when he was in 3rd grade, like in the amateur section. I went to Tennessee, and they're like, oh, we need an extra body. And so we take Sebastian, and he won all 7 games. And I was like, what happened here? And then, so an avid chess player until about 8th grade. Again, his 8th grade year, he was a national champion again and won state. And then it wasn't cool anymore, so he stopped chess. I was like, darn, there was all those scholarships I was, imagining. But he continued to play soccer all the way through, and then went to college, got selected on a D2 team, Northwest Nazarene, and played soccer for a semester. And so that was him, just very curious. But then he dropped out of college. Things were happening.
Yeah.
And he came home and said, I don't want to go back. And so he had struggled with some mental health issues and addiction issues. We tried to provide all the things that we could, and it's frustrating, as when you're a healthcare providers, you're like, it's like, we don't know what to do either,
Yeah, so. I know. And you feel like you should, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We hadn't mentioned this earlier, but you're a pediatric nurse practitioner. Your husband's a physician. We're very, very similar in that way. And you feel like, you help other kids, you help other people, right? And you should be able to help your own. And sometimes you just can't.
No, you can't. Yeah. And I realized that, there came a point in Sebastian's journey that it was no longer an if, but a when. Yeah. And so we kind of had to, he had one suicide attempt like 6 months prior to when he did die. And so, we'd gotten him into the hospital, we had gotten him on medication, and he was, doing fine for the moment. But then, his mind was his worst enemy, as we always said.
Yeah.
And so in September, and then when he finally, I said went home to be Jesus. He was done. He couldn't do this anymore. Yeah. And so that's when our world changed. We always talk about that line of demarcation. You've got before and after.
Yeah.
I have a chapter in my book is called More Than a Statistic. And our children are more than, what they died from or what the choices they made. But Sebastian was this lovely, kid. We used to butt heads, all the time. He and I were so much alike. And so I could deal with him differently than his dad, we both came at it at different ways, but I was more blunt with him. He was very blunt with me, and it was okay, but but we always knew he knew we loved him. We knew he loved us. And in fact, as his last day, on this earth is, we ended the conversation with, I love you, Mom. And I said, I love you too. So I knew that about, that we did love him. I mean, and of course we loved him, but that he loved us and he knew that we wanted the best for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when was how old was he when he passed again? You said 2017.
He's 23. He had just turned 23 and he was in rehab.
Oh, he was in rehab.
He was in rehab. He was, it was called Teen Challenge, which is a phenomenal inpatient program. It's like a year-long program. And he was in there at the time, but just made some decisions and left. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's harder when they're of legal age. You don't have the control as I always say. It's easier when they're in your home. At least you have some type of not always some type of control, but but we were always talking to him and always working with him.
Well, and just after the age of 18, you just lose any control that you had for medical decision making, really, at all.
Yes.
So that is a huge challenge. Because I assume he was having struggles by then, by 18.
Yes.
Did it one of those things that started in hise school or college?
Yeah, it started in high school, and then he was self-medicating, and and then had a bipolar disorder diagnosis prior.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on some pretty heavy drugs at the end. He was on lithium, and he was trying to figure it out, but he had voices in his head that just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
So
and they tell you lies, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though we were always, trying to tell him, you got this, we can do this, and we're here for you, and but those lies won at that last moment. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your grief journey. So and what that started like, and just all of that.
Well, I said, like I said, I was preparing for the when it happened. I mean, there was something. I tend to be very realistic about this. Anytime I'm dealing with any children in the medical field, and I try to be very realistic with families, but I always want to give hope, and so I always had hope that all right, that something could happen. Something good can happen out of this if he makes a certain decision or not. But then we had just seen him. So the night that we had made plans to go and visit him, my daughter had her boyfriend that she wanted to meet, Sebastian. And so Brennan came. He came that day, and we had said goodbye, and we're going to see him in a couple days. And then 4 hours later, the police come to the house and let us know that Sebastian had died. And at that time, they said it was an accident. And we went, oh, that was no accident. I was of course I was in shock, and I just went really numb. It's funny, I have no memory of like the first 6 months, I would say 6 or 7 months. I know we had people coming to our house. I don't remember who came to our house. It's funny, I remember someone brought me Starbucks. I knew like an iced tea. I remember the Starbucks. I don't remember who it was. At the funeral, I know our church was full. There was probably about 600 people there. I don't remember who they were at all. And there was a guest book, which I still have never looked at, Yeah. My husband can remember. He remembers who was there, and I cannot. All I remember is feeling like in the Bible, was it Abraham? He was in a battle, and they were fighting these people, and he was getting tired. And so he would raise his hand up. And then when he was tired, they would lose the battle. And then I just felt like my hands were being kept up by my friends and family during the funeral. And I just remember feeling, oh, this is what heaven is like.
Yeah.
Everybody coming and, without the crying and all the tears. But I'm like, oh, this is all these people here just lifting us up and wanting to be with us. And it just gave me a glimpse of heaven. It's like, okay, but without the pain and out the tears.
Yeah.
So that was then. And then I went back to work after 2 weeks. I had just started working as a nurse practitioner.
Oh, really?
And I just thinking, I was like, I just prayed that I wouldn't kill somebody. that first year. I was so worried because, when you're in a fog, you just can't think straight. And here I am working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did go back to work because it was a brand new job, and I felt like I needed to go. But again, God was so gracious. I just did well child checks for that first year, and a bunch of ear infections. And I was like, I was well protected. And so I was able to get through that first year. And then the second and third year, I was like, oh, okay. I was able to function better again. But so that was really hard. The other things that, I didn't want to go to church anymore. I couldn't read my Bible. But I went, and mostly just because that was the right thing to do in my head. And I would go and hide out in the front row. I always said that, like, the front right-hand corner of the church, it was like the darkest spot. And the earliest service, no one knew me really, even though we were on staff at church, but I thought I could hide out there. I just cry for like 2 years, just cried and cried. And then just realized this is my season of tears. And as if you're a healthcare, we tend to be we've got this, we don't show emotions. We just, you just go through it, everything. And I'm like, wow, I just need to cry and just let people know this is what I'm doing, and got used to it, and even if people felt uncomfortable, I was like, well, this is where I'm at. I can't care for you. I'm just barely caring for myself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely hear you with church. It was really hard to go, but yet I was really afraid not to go at that point in time. I remember one time I, of course, was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and there was a time that I overslept, and we missed church. It was like I woke up and it was 9:30, and church started at 9:30, and I got up. I said, "Why didn't you wake me up?" And I'm like freaking out because I'm not at church. And my husband said, "Honey, you needed to sleep. You were not getting enough sleep. You just needed to sleep." But I was so afraid that if I missed even 1 week, that I would never go back. I just had that fear, right? I just like, I need to go. I need to keep going. Even if I don't feel like I need to feel like it, I need to keep going. So anyway, but I did a lot of hiding too.
Yeah.
I definitely
I hid for years.
And then my family would cocoon me so other people wouldn't come close, because I just I didn't like, I don't know. It was hard. I didn't want to fall apart. I didn't want to just be a weeping mess. And that happened a lot anyway. So
yeah. Oh, I know. And I think that's a lot of our culture too, because other cultures, you're encouraged to weep and wail, and there is, and people, we're so insulated here. We don't get it. We don't see it. And I just thought, wow, I just need to do this. And it was interesting because I had lost my mom at a young age. I lost my brother. I was like the only surviving person in my family. And then to lose my son, it was so different.
Yeah.
As it is something different. I mean, I haven't lost a spouse. So I don't know what that is like.
Yeah.
And hopefully, God willing, I mean, the longer we're married, the more that's going to happen eventually, but that's something about losing a child. And I remember my grandmother, when my mom had died. So I was 18, my mom was 36. So she was young. She had a massive stroke. And then I just remember my grandma at the funeral. I remember we were at the cemetery, and she's like, "You're not supposed to your children are supposed to outlive you. You're not supposed to outlive your child." And then I remembered that. I was like, oh, I know how my grandma felt.
Yeah.
I
remember the same thing because my mom died at 42 of breast cancer. So very, very similar.
Oh, okay.
And watching my grandmother in the same way. Yeah, I want to go back to something you said earlier about how you were waiting for this to happen and expecting for this to happen. And I think it's interesting that you can think that you can be preparing yourself. Right? You were telling yourself, this is going to happen. This could happen, as if that would somehow get you ready and prepared, and it maybe wouldn't hurt as much. But it totally didn't work.
Oh, that's a lie.
Did it?
No, it didn't. It did not work.
Didn't work at all. I didn't live in that, but what I can relate to is that both of my parents actually had cancer when I was in high school, and my mom eventually died when I was in college. And so when I met my husband, I I really always was living as if the next bad thing was going to happen, right? I was always expecting something bad to happen because every couple of years, every year or two, something bad did happen in my life. And he was like, honey, you just can't keep living that way. You just can't keep living like you're expecting a bad thing to happen. And so eventually I was able to stop doing that. And then of course, Andy died. But I don't think, I mean, it doesn't help when you live like that.
No, it doesn't. No, because I think that's why I never wanted to get close to anybody. You know, I didn't get married till I was 31, 29, 30. He was 30. But it's like, you know, do I want to take that risk? You know,
Right.
Because I'm going to lose someone. I mean, we've been married 36 years, but, you know, but still, yeah, you can't prepare for that.
No.
Even though it's like having a baby. When we have our children, you go through all the prenatal classes, you do all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I always said,
and you think you're ready.
Right. And as a pediatric providers, I always said, you know, I know everything about kids until I had one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it's like, I don't know anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because you just lose all objectivity, don't you? You know, I mean, I remember, when Sebastian was a little baby, he was crying uncontrollably. And I'm looking at my husband and I'm like, you're a family doc, I'm a nurse, and we don't know what's wrong with him. We should know, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
Anyway, we didn't.
No, for sure.
Yeah, children humble you.
So I do think, though, that was your little bit of thing, like, I'm going to prepare for this. I'm going to be ready for it. But yet it happened. Totally weren't ready.
Oh, no.
And I don't think you could have been.
No.
No.
Mm-mm. No, you know. Because you're always living for that. Okay, made it through this state. Because my thing always with Sebastian was like, if he was somewhere, like if he was safe, you know, like when he was in recovery, when he was in the rehab, he was safe. When he was living with friends, he was safe. I always felt like he would, you know, and then even though he was safe, you know, he wasn't safe.
Right, because he was in a facility or something too at that point in time.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So that's why you felt especially confident at that moment, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
That he was safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was safe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to touch on your faith with this and how that was, because I know for me it certainly rocked my faith, but in many ways I feel like my faith is stronger and more genuine now than it was even before. So talk about your faith and that and what this has done.
Well, you know, that's a great question because people kept, you know, asking me, were we ever mad at God? And I was like, you know, I never was mad at God, but I was mad at Sebastian for a long, long time because what he did to me, you know, he did this to me. And it wasn't, you know, he couldn't help himself. But I remember, you know, after his first suicide attempt, I was just like, how could you do this to me? Why are you doing this? You know, and I can't believe I actually said that to him in the emergency room, you know, when we found him at that time, because he was missing for 24 hours. And I was, you know, just beside myself. And I mean, he was just like, I can't help it, Mom. I just can't help it. I just remembered that. And so when he did die by the suicide, I remembered that. I was like, okay, I was still mad. I was mad for like 6 or 7 months, you know, but I clung to Jesus and I kept telling people, I can't see God in the midst of this, but I know he's there because, you know, where else am I going to go right now? You know, and that's what my husband and I just said. We just had to cling to Jesus. And we had friends that told us, like right after Sebastian died, well, you know, is the suicide rate. Oh, no, the divorce rate is really high.
Yeah.
After a suicide. And I was like, is that helpful? You know, and so that made me more, we were like, no, we were intentional about making sure we were praying together and going to church together. And I made myself read my Bible.
Yeah.
I listened to my Bible. I couldn't read it. The only thing I could read was the Psalms. But I read the Bible every day. I listened to it every day and I would go walking. I made myself go walking with my dog and I would just listen to God's word and let it bathe in me. I don't remember a lot of it, but I know there's somehow that it's going to ooze itself into my being.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of fake it till you make it when you're in that, right?
Oh, totally.
I mean, like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I remember just feeling at a loss. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't
No, you
know
don't.
what to do with myself. So
No.
that seems a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Let's just
Yeah.
walk and listen to the Bible. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah,
Let's just
that's
do
what I
that.
did. Yeah, I know. And people gave you books to read,
Oh my goodness. I have a stack that I've not even read all of them.
Oh,
The
yeah,
stack
same
has
here.
now moved because the stack used to be in our living room and my husband has moved it up to Andy's room. So it's in the corner over here. And what's funny is that Randy Alcorn has a book called Heaven.
Heaven, right.
And yes, last year, my Starlight group that I had done for the year, they decided that they wanted to do that for a summer book study. And it's funny because I was on a trip when all this was decided, so I knew nothing about it until like a few days before we were supposed to meet. And then they're like, oh my gosh, sorry. We're so sorry, Marcy, we never told you. And I said, I'm pretty sure that one's in my stack. And it was in my stack, along with a note in it from a woman that I don't even know who she is.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Telling me, that she thought this book would be great for me. And I, it had been, almost 7 years and I hadn't read it yet. I mean, it was a good book. I'm glad I read it, but there are others still sitting in that pile.
Yep.
That I have never read.
I have quite a few of those.
Yeah. Because it was just too, I couldn't concentrate to read a book at that time.
No. I listened to, it's funny, I had these same like romance novel books that I already knew the plot line.
Yeah.
And so I would read those and go to sleep. That's how I would go to sleep at night because I'm like, I already know the story. And then, but it was like, I couldn't do anything new.
Yeah.
I just read the Psalms.
Yeah.
And just underlined, the laments and the crying and.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Because that's got a good amount of lament in it. And that you can do. That's easy to do.
Yeah. And in fact, one of my chapters in my book is called, giving permission to lament and to cry out. Because again, our culture doesn't, there's like something bad if we whine and complain. But it's like it's okay. Job did. Oh my gosh, when you read Job, it's like he whined and complained the whole time. And God was just still loved him and, and took care of him. And but I mean, and even we know what happened, why things happened to Job. I mean, Job didn't know what was going on. And it's the same with us. It's like when we lost our child, we didn't know what was going on or why this happened. And we still don't even know. We still don't know why. And having to let that go, because I think a lot of moms, it's like, well, if God would have, or if I did this or, and I just realized, I'm not God.
The what if. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not God. I can't know the mind of God, and I'm not God and I can't control everything. I mean, I want to, don't I? Because if life would be just easier if everyone did it like me, But I've learned to let go a lot,
Yeah.
So, because you just can't. The more you hang on to it, like my husband said, you just have to go through it.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid it. The more you avoid it, I think that's when you start getting more, your body reacts, and I always say, what you don't talk out, your body is going to act out. And either if that's lack of sleep, more sleep, high blood pressure, whatever, depression, anxiety, all of that. And which is pretty common, it's like, we got to give ourselves some grace because we're going to go through. That's why we got the grieving process, because it is a process and it's not done in 1 year. Yeah. And I just wish people would say that. It's like, it's been, 9 years. And I think year 7, I was like, oh, I feel pretty good. But it took like 7 years. Yeah. I mean, I was functioning, but realizing, oh, okay, I'm kind of back to whatever me was before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
No, I had a woman say that a few months ago, I was interviewing her and she said she had this epiphany moment of, oh, here I am. Like, this is me. And it had been years. And then suddenly like, oh, I guess I'm me again. And I haven't been, but it's not, it's an epiphany. It's like it happens slowly. But then all of a sudden you look back and you realize I'm more of the person that I used to be. I mean, not the same, certainly not the same. You'll never be exactly the same, but yet more of you, just feeling a little more like you.
Yeah. And my joy was back and my, I'm a very creative person. And all of a sudden, I was still creating things, but more from rote, because it's like, I just have to do it because it was, but now it's like, oh, that part of me is back and I'm, making quilts and sewing and doing just fun things that I love to do. But, before it was a chore. Now it was like, oh, this is fun again. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, talk about your writing and what writing did for you.
Well, it's interesting. I've always, of course, written academic papers, if you've been in school long enough, you write a lot of that. But I've always loved to write. And then I found out, like, after Sebastian passed away, my husband started a new business. My daughter got married soon after her brother died, and that's another story. But that's how she was dealing with her grief of losing her brother. And all of a sudden, I realized I don't have anything anymore. I have no project. I have nothing. My daughter's marriage was keeping her busy. My husband's new job was keeping his business. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And so I signed up for an online writing class, I thought, I'm just going to start writing about Sebastian, or just writing about whatever. And my avatar was a cat, so no one knew it was me. And, but I just started writing anonymously in this, and I took 13 classes.
Wow.
I loved it. Yeah, I did. I just kept doing it. And I wrote a memoir during that time. I got involved with meeting with other women and doing cohort writing and, reviewing other writers. And it was so much fun. I loved it. Through that, I was writing about Sebastian, and people would say, was that cathartic? And it was cathartic. It was there. It was just something I needed to put down. I don't know. And then when I mentioned I'd finished the memoir, and my writing coach said, all right, now it's time to write this book. And I felt like God was saying, okay, it's time to write this book. Because I always said I wanted to write the next Jane Austen novel, not a book about how to help moms survive suicide. Like, that was not in my top 10. But I felt like I needed to do it. Yeah. And actually it was, all of a sudden, all the chapters started coming. And I had I had my stack of books, and I started, I had journaled, I should go back, and I had journaled about Sebastian right away and just shoving it on my laptop somewhere. And I found a lot of those essays, those journal entries that I had forgotten. And so I put them as part of the book. Different chapters will have my early writings in there. And it was like, oh my gosh, the grief, you see the grief and the hurt and the pain. And it was very raw. So, but I thought I needed moms to see that and go, this is okay. This is normal. This is where we're at, and not to be ashamed of the loss that we were going through. And so I'm hoping that that's going to be so helpful as well. So, and then to see where I am now, looking back on that and saying, okay, I have come through this, and this is where I am, and this is how I can help others, go through that.
Well, and giving people hope, right?
Yeah.
Giving people hope.
Yeah. Oh, it totally was. And we always thought that hope was always going to be there, even though, during the early days, it's hard to see the hope, but you have to cling to what say, okay, God has promised that, but he never promised it was going to be easy, right?
No.
And the longer we live, the more pain and suffering we're going to go through, because we live in a broken world. If we see what's happened, like in Venezuela, I'm like, all those thousands of people that died in an instant, my heart just like, wow, we just do not know. But to rejoice in the day that God gives us. I know I was walking today, I'm like, thank you, Lord, that I can walk, that I am pretty healthy, but having to cling to that. But all back to the writing. But that's how it all started. And then, so I came up with a manuscript, and then I thought, okay, I'm ready to see what happens. It's scary in some ways, because to be very vulnerable about this. But I had been writing on a Substack. So I have essays on my Substack that I've been doing for about 4 years, and sharing about my grief journey with Sebastian, and just grief in general. Not everything is about Sebastian, but when you're grieving, but a lot of it is, isn't it? And people resonated with it. And it was interesting, because in our world of likes, and nobody likes when you write about grief, because it's not something you like, but I would have people come up to me. I'd be walking in the mall, and they go, oh, I read your essay. Oh my gosh, I needed that today. So I would hear it from other ways, not through social media, but one-on-one, or they would drop me a note or something, and just, so it was very encouraging. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep writing and keep doing this. And then that came, but it was always, Messy Morning was always going to be the title, because I just kept saying, morning is messy.
Yes.
it is messy.
Yes.
It is not linear, and it is not.
Yes.
I mean, I like everything in a neat package. I love my checking my lists, and it is not that at all. No.
No, it is so messy. We talk about that quite a bit on this podcast too, about the messiness of grief, and it's just not neat and tidy. It is.
It is not. No.
Yeah. And you want it to be in some ways. You want there to be some sort of formula.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know, I remember just like somebody just tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in this just mess of grief, there isn't just one
And it
right
looks
thing to
different.
do. It's just
Right.
it's just so incredibly hard.
And it's different for every person.
Yeah.
There is no one size fits all. I wish I have a chapter. It said grieving would be easier if it was just me. And the idea,
Yeah.
because my husband, of course, grieved so differently, and my daughter did as well. I mean, the example would be Sebastian's bedroom. I just wanted to clean it all out and put it in its nice, neat boxes, and do something with them. And my husband didn't want to go in the room, didn't want to look at it. He goes, "It's fine, shut the door, leave it there." And Isabel wanted to wear all of Sebastian's clothes.
Yeah.
She didn't want me to get rid of anything.
Yeah.
All the boxes, I'm looking up because they're in the attic right here. And 9 years later, they're still in boxes in the attic. There's no hurry. They're still there.
No.
They're safe. Yeah.
Andy's room is still Andy's room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still very much, we have a desk that we do podcasting in now, but otherwise, I mean, it's still very much the same. And it's funny because when Andy died, my daughter really wanted the door shut because she didn't want to see his room.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted the door open because when it was shut, I felt like I could just almost pretend like he was in there, and I didn't want to live like pretending he was still alive in there.
Mm-hmm.
I just sort of needed the reminder that he wasn't. And she didn't want the reminder that she wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny how different people in the same family need different things. And so, we ended up sort of having to compromise. I think it was almost shut, but not totally. And then eventually she, after our foster son Valeriano moved out of the house, she moved to the basement because she just didn't want to walk past his room. She didn't want to share the bathroom that she had shared with him. She just needed it to be separate, and I think she wasn't ready at that point in her life to really face the grief as much as she should have, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But she's doing it now. So, I mean, this is the thing. You can put things off, but you eventually do have to deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
And different people are just different in how that timeline is, right?
Mm-hmm. I know when I had lost my mom, told you I was 18, I had to go back to college. I had I was homeless because my mom was a single mom. So I was living in the dorms. So I didn't have time to grieve.
Yeah.
And it took 10 years. And then I remember a pastor saying, I think you really need to see a therapist. First, I was affronted. Then I was like, oh, yeah, I need to see a therapist because I thought I had it all together, right? But I wasn't. I still was doing things that on the outside looked good, but I was hurting on the inside. And so I did the work, but it was 10 years later. And it was hard work even 10 years later.
Yeah.
So I think in some way when Sebastian died, even though it was awful, I had tools. But I thought, okay, I'm going to use these things to help. Of course, it was different, but at least I realized, oh, okay, I am going through grief. This is, my body is going to react this way. But before I was like clueless. And now it's like, oh, yeah, this is grief. Oh, yeah, this could be grief. Oh, this could be grief. Oh, this, it's amazing all the different things but they all could be grief related. Yeah.
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 And just, I think you eventually getting help like that would probably make it easier for you to accept help the second time around too.
It did, yeah. And I did see a grief counselor after about a year. It was it was 1 year after Sebastian died. I thought I would go and see a grief counselor. And that's when I started writing, what I was writing. And so what I would do is read my writing to her.
Yeah.
and then we process it. So it was an interesting, I was doing a lot of the work up front already. And so it made the grief, the counseling even, I think, more helpful because I had already made that decision to work on this. Yeah.
Well, and I don't just mean even the counseling, but you talked earlier about letting other people lift you up afterwards, right? About feeling like almost the community of heaven surrounding you and giving you support.
Yeah.
I don't know that you would have been able to do that had you not kind of accepted that vulnerability and accepted help after your mom died too.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because you might have done what you did the first time and I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
Right.
But instead, you knew you couldn't do it.
Oh, I couldn't do it. No.
Couldn't. So
Yeah.
let's let the community surround me and help me, because that's I don't know that comes super easily for everybody. In fact, I know it doesn't come super easily for everybody.
No, it does not come easy. Yeah. I know I've worked with some women that they would contact me after a loss of different losses, and and I'm like, oh yeah, they're not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, because since we walked this journey, you kind of know it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's gonna come. It's they're gonna hit a wall soon, and then we'll see the healing begin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But for a while, sometimes you just want to avoid the pain and you just feel like you need to just keep plowing away and not open up. And it doesn't really help you, but unless you accept it yourself, there's nothing you can do about it.
No, there isn't. Yeah. I know. I just knew I needed to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it was hard because suicidal grief, I soon discovered it was a lot different than, other types of when children had died by other ways. Like I early in one of my first chapters, I talk about if a child is dying of cancer, everyone's like, oh, what a brave child. They fought the good fight, and everybody's surrounding them because, wow, they're a hero. And then if someone drives by like an accident, like your child, they're like, oh, that was a grief, oh, a life cut short, had so many things to look forward to. And, and then when someone dies by suicide, everyone's like, oh, they don't know what to say. Or they would say things. And I know I have a girlfriend who lost a husband and child in a tragic accident. And we talked about writing a book called Stupid Things People Say to You.
Yeah.
We laugh about it now. I mean, well-meaning, of course, they were totally well-meaning, but at the time you're like, I can't believe you said that to me, or
I know. It's just horrible things people say. So stupid.
Yeah. There was. I mean, I can laugh about it now, but at the time it was just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I would tell my husband, please shut my mouth if I say something like this, to someone, and so.
Can you think of an example? I always feel like it's.
Oh, I mean, I can. I just don't want people to know. Oh, well, what? Like I told you, someone said, oh, well, I told you about, people get divorced. And we're like, oh, thank you. Someone told me, when my daughter got married to my son, not my son.
Your son-in-law. Yeah.
Son-in-law. They go, oh, you have a son again. I was like, no, I don't have a son again.
No.
No, he does not replace Sebastian. I love Brennan, but that is not, it's like, like people. Just say thank you.
Yep, that would be a stupid thing. Yeah, that would be a stupid thing for sure.
Oh gosh.
Oh. Yeah. It's hard, but in some ways, if you can end up laughing about it eventually, it's nice.
Yeah, as I said, my girlfriend, it was interesting because after, so she had lost her husband and son, and I had gotten an email, and I don't even think it had been a year. And I got an email from a friend of hers saying she wants to meet with you. I'm like, I can't meet with her. I just lost my child. I can't do that. And I just knew God wanted me to go and talk with her.
Yeah.
And so I went, and we just cried.
Yeah.
It was less than a year. And we're still meeting 8 years later.
Yeah.
We get together, the crying, I think we cried probably like the first 2-3 years. Now we laugh. Now we just pray for one another, encourage one another. But it was amazing that the friendship that developed from that. But I was like, okay, I'll do this. And she and I also lead a grief share group at our church. So that's been kind of a a blessing to do that together, to help others walk through grief. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, well, who would have thought that in the midst of our grief that we would be helping others like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the book you wrote very specifically for mothers who lost their child to suicide, because you felt like that was important to put that piece
Yes.
in. Talk about
Yes.
that a little bit.
Well, like I said, I noticed that because people don't know what to say. It's
Yeah.
there's still this stigma. It's ironic because it's the number 2 cause of death for children and young adults between the ages of 10 and 23 still in the United States. So it's not uncommon. And my premise is that everybody knows somebody who's lost a child by suicide, and every one of them had a mother.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a mother. And I remember reading in the Bible, and you always skip over, and Judas went and hung himself. You just skip over that. And I went, oh my gosh, he had a mom.
Yeah.
And so I wrote an essay about that. That's in the book. It's called Sympathy for the Mother of Judas. And I looked at it from her perspective. It's like, oh, she watched, look at what her son did. Jesus picked him to be
Yeah.
with his buddies. He was performing miracles. He was intimate with Jesus. He, and his mom just must have been so proud watching her boy do these, wonderful things, and then he made a decision. He made a choice. And like my child made a choice too.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end, I always said, you know what? But she still loved her son.
Yeah.
And I loved Sebastian. And, it's not defining him by, it's unfortunate that Judas will always be defined by what he had done. Because, if you're a follower of Jesus, that was right up there, But I think the fallout of that is that people assume things about people who die by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like this it's almost like a generational spiritual thing, that theological stigma that still permeates our culture. Maybe not as bad. There have been changes. The Catholic Church has made changes. We don't bury people who die by suicide in separate cemeteries. It used to be family members were ostracized by, they're guilty by association. And so there's been a lot of changes. And of course, with mental health issues, we realize that, that this is a real concern.
Yeah.
We've got the suicide support numbers, which has actually helped. The 988 number has actually helped decrease in the last couple of years. We've seen small decreases in suicidal rates because of that. So they said 4 to 12% less than in the last few years since it's come out.
Wow.
So there is some improvement, but suicide still happens every day. The last resource I was reading was like every 11 minutes, somebody is dying of suicide. So we need to address this issue. We do address it, but we address it from the prevention issue, which is totally legit. We should. But I'm looking at it, I thought, I could go on that side, but I'm like, but I want to help moms who've gone through this.
Yeah.
And because the prevention didn't work.
Right. And have them not feel so alone and isolated.
Yeah. Because I felt, even though my church was wonderful, but there was still, even though people might not say, I felt the stigma. And maybe a lot of it was self, because there is so much shame and guilt by knowing my child died this way. And my husband really struggled with that he had lost his witness. He said, he goes, what are people going to think now that I lost my child to suicide? All these people are going to think I'm a bad parent. We all do this. And then, but he actually found out, he became more approachable.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was like guys from work were like, oh, I can talk to you now, because you've been through this loss. You're going to get me. So who knew?
Right, but it's not what he thought.
Right, yeah. And we went through a lot of that, but there's still this underlying shame and guilt that I don't know where it comes from, but even though you could be walking the squeaky clean life, and then your child does this, and then you just feel like, oh, it was my fault. I did this. And then, of course, in the church, there are certain denominations that still make it, harder, I think, to be members of if your child is more, not so much more. I find it's interesting in the research, some of the books I looked at about how to help those that have lost a child to suicide tend to be much more leaning more like progressive. I thought was interesting. They are seem to be more helpful than a lot more than the conservative side than in some ways. But that could be just anecdotal from what I was reading. But yeah, I still think there is this stigma unspoken that I think people don't even recognize that that's there.
Yeah.
Because it's just so ingrained.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's really important to not shy away from the word suicide.
Yes.
It's important not to.
Or block it from your website.
Yeah, right. I was telling you earlier before we started recording that I have troubles with my website now and again that different, I can't go on my website by Firefox right now. I can't get on it at all. I have to go through Chrome in order to update my website, which means I'm going to have to go through a whole process with Firefox again. And so when I've talked to my website person, he said, well, I think it might be because you use the word suicide. Like, okay, I'm not going to stop using the word suicide. It's difficult when you get censored in a way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pretend like this doesn't exist and not address it and not allow people whose lives have been affected by suicide to I just want to open my arms up to you, right? To all people, not just people whose children died in certain ways, or if they died by suicide, for me to not use the word because I don't want to be blocked from a website browser.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Because it is what it is. I mean, my son, he died by suicide. He did. I mean, that was a choice he made,
Yes, but it didn't feel like a choice for him at that time. Right? It felt like his only option at the time.
Yep. Yeah.
And it felt like the best option at the time. And he certainly did not do that to hurt you because he loved you dearly. He knew that you loved him dearly. That was just the voices at the time talking to him were telling him this was the best option.
Yeah. Which really sucks.
Which really sucks. And I'm glad you put it that way. I think that was the perfect way to put it because it does. It does.
It does. Yeah. That was like one of my favorite words. And people are like, what? I'm like,
I know.
This grief sucks.
Yes.
It does. Yep.
100%.
See, I knew we'd get along. Right? I knew that. I was like, oh.
100%. Yeah. It's so funny. I like when we have these bad anniversary days that are really hard. So I have a friend of mine and they went through the anniversary day and, people write all these things like, may you feel your son close to you today. May God give you moments of peace, whatever. Okay. That's all great. Well and good and beautiful. You know what I wrote to her? I wrote, today sucks and I love you. And to me, that felt more genuine than me writing, may you feel your son close to you today. Okay, that just felt like a platitude. Oh, today is a sucky day, okay? And there's no turning that around. There's no making that better. You're going to do as much as you can to try to remember him positively today. But, I mean, it's just a hard day. And we are coming... August 15th is right around the corner. And you know what? It's going to suck. It's going to be a hard day. And people are going to write all sorts of really nice things to me. But what I'd really appreciate is if someone just said, today sucks. And I love you. Because that's what would feel better to me. So now I've put it out there, so we'll see if that's what I get. Maybe I'll get a bunch of those messages this time. We'll see how listened to this episode is.
We need a shirt that says that. Yeah, today's sucks.
Right.
On the first anniversary, of course, I'm a planner, and I'm like, we're going to go to the happiest place on earth. And we went to Disneyland.
Okay.
So I said, let's go to Disneyland. I went and got a button because they said, what are you celebrating? And I was like... I said, my son's, died a year ago. And they go, you know what? A lot of people do this.
Really?
Which made me feel, I said, great.
Okay.
So we did that. And we were fine until we saw the baby Jedi. They had this Jedi training. And I saw my son loved Star Wars. And then we all looked at each other and we were just like, "Whoa," you're just crying at Disneyland, the happiest place, because it really sucks seeing those little Jedi,
That's funny. The 1-year anniversary of Andy's death, we went to Michigan's Adventure, which is like an amusement park here in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
And he liked roller coasters. He liked that kind of stuff. So we went for that. And I cried.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Too. And I went on a roller coaster and got feeling very sick because I hate roller coasters.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I plan anniversary days. We started doing different trips every year. It's been kind of fun.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, we've gone to during COVID, we ended up going one national park, and then, we actually my daughter lived in New Zealand for a while with Youth of the Mission with YWAM. And we actually took Sebastian's ashes to New Zealand, and we're big Lord of the Ring fans, and we spread them in Mordor. So, so the mountain range that's there, remarkable. So we spread them on the second anniversary, and we cried and did all that. But then every year we're like, this year we're going to go to Tombstone, Arizona, because my daughter was like, let's go to Tombstone. I'm like, why not? So we just pick someplace fun now, but we're always together. And every year I'm like, do you want to get together? And she's like, oh no, yeah, we want to get together. So we make it happen every year. And
oh, good.
Yeah, because she lives in Arizona now, but we do fun things in Arizona, so if she can drive and not miss work, so.
Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should talk to you about how people can get your book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So right now you can get it. It's pre-ordering on Amazon. So Amazon is the big place, of course, you can get it. And it's a hardcover, softcover, and Kindle if you want Kindle.
Well, now it'll be released. So by the time this is out, you'll be a few weeks into the release. So you'll be able to get it.
This is true. Yeah.
You'll be able to get it on Amazon. Very good.
They go to my website and click there. I have some extra resources for people that go along with the book. So I have a companion journal that goes with it. So for every chapter, there's different questions to ask. I have what's called 30 Days of Laments. So Psalms of Lament. We go through a different psalm every day.
Oh, beautiful.
Just resources. And then I have a playlist that my daughter put together for Sebastian songs and just different songs that were related to the book. One other thing we did was, what was the other one? Oh, things that help, things that hurt.
Oh,
so I was like,
nice.
Because of these conversations, it's like,
yes.
I want people to know. And then there's a chapter in the book about that as well, how you can help and how you can hurt. So those are available also. So if you pre-order or you order a book and go to my website, and I can get you those resources.
So what's the website?
JackieMBaker.com.
JackieMBaker.com.
Yeah. And there you get access to my writing and just different resources that, I have for those that have lost a child by suicide. Yeah. Sorry, my cat's in the back here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate being able to talk to you, Jackie, and hearing all about Sebastian.
Yeah, it's been so much fun talking with you as well.
Very good.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation, or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.